If you're a fan of books like Alice in Wonderland, The Village Beyond the Mist is the book for you. Set in a very whimsical, kind of fantastical part of Japan, this young girl, Lina, ends up going to the Misty Village by accident. She meant to go there, but she didn't know how she was going to get there until her little umbrella took her on a trip through the forest to find this hidden village within the mist. So, this village has a whole cast of very zany and fun characters. Each character in this book is very memorable, and when I read it, I really couldn't put it down. I read it at night before bed, and it was just such a fun, easy read. And it's really short, but it packs a lot of character and a lot of just fun throughout the entire book. I fully recommend it, and right now, it started on November 18th, but all the way until December 2nd on Libby. This book is available with no holds, so you can get the audiobook and ebook version on Libby until December 2nd, 2025, for free on Libby. No holds, no waiting. You can get it now. And we also have a physical copy, as you can see here, at the Clinton Public Library if you want to check it out and read the hardcover just like I did. It is totally worth your time. It is a fun little read, and this is actually the book that inspired movies like Spirited Away. This book was in Japanese for about 50 years before in 2025 it was finally published in English. So now that we can enjoy it from this amazing author who also has other books that she has written that are also very good and we have here at the library, make sure to check this one out. It is definitely worth a read. The Village Beyond the Mist by Sachiko Kashiwaba. Chapter 1. Lina finds Misty Valley. "Excuse me, how can I get to Misty Valley?" Lina called to a woman passing by. Lina had been waiting at the empty train station for what felt like hours, but no one had come to meet her. Everything she could see, from the station building behind her to the weeds that lined the unpaved road out front, was thick with dust. The woman, who wore a faded dress and a traditional geta on her feet, cocked her head. "Misty Valley? Can't say I've ever heard of it. What you see is what you get with this town. It goes in a straight line from the station." Lena wanted to cry. The train station had only a single platform with two wooden benches on it. In this town, a lonely car and two or three people moved about slowly, but the only thing really making headway was the sun. Before she could stop them, tears squeezed from Lena's eyes. Surprised, the woman put an arm around Lena's shoulders and led her to the neighboring police station. "Hello, officer!" she yelled through the door. "This child seems lost." A police officer stepped outside, flapping a round paper fan at his face, his collar open in the heat. "A lost child? Well, that doesn't... that beat all." He peered at Lena, who clutched a red bag and an umbrella. "This one could be a runaway," he observed. Lena raised her head and looked right at him. "I am not running away. Or lost," she said. But the bleary-eyed officer only motioned as if to calm her before beckoning both her and the woman inside the station. Setting himself at the desk, the officer asked, "What's your name, miss?" "Lina Usuki." "And how do you write Lina?" "Katakana." "Oh, a new-fangled name. Isn't that funny?" Lina said nothing. "What grade are you in at school?" "Sixth." "And where are you traveling from?" "Shizuoka." "From Shizuoka all by yourself?" the woman asked in surprise. Lena took pride in this. It was her first trip on her own, and she had changed train stations twice at Tokyo and Sendai before disembarking exactly where her father had instructed. When he had seen her off on the night train, he said, "I'll call ahead, so when you get there, you'll be set." It was that train changes that he seemed to be most worried about, repeating them to her several times. Selena had been certain that someone would meet her when she arrived, but no one had come. At first, she'd felt frightened and overwhelmed, but now, having been mistaken for lost, she was plain angry. The police officer opened a logbook and painstakingly wrote down all that she had said. I am really not lost or running away, she insisted. I only need directions. The woman smiled at her. Just humor him a minute, honey. He doesn't have a thing to do but patrol this little town with its buildings all in a line. The police officer paused his writing. Let's see, we had a fight at the festival on May the 2nd. That was 3 months ago. This is the first time I've had something to write in the log since then, other than nothing amiss. I suppose nothing amiss is best, but still, he scratched his head. Now, where are you going? Finally, they were making progress. I want to go to Misty Valley, Lina replied. The officer tilted his head, as if puzzled. Then, noticing the anxious look on Lena's face, he said kindly, Let me look it up for you. He pulled out an enormous directory, covered in dust. It's been an awful long time since someone asked for directions, he explained, wiping the book clean. He turned the pages for a while, then stopped on one. Seems you're looking for Silver Mountain Village. What's that you say? The woman looked at the officer, and then both of them looked back at Lena with an odd expression. Lena grew worried again. Is something wrong with that village? She asked. Not wrong, the officer said uncertainly. There was a silver mine in those parts, but they had closed it almost 30 years ago, and folks moved away from the village one or two at a time, or so I hear. I wonder how many people still live there. It's outside my jurisdiction. Honey, are you really going to Silver Mountain Village? The woman asked. Lena knew nothing about a Silver Mountain Village. Her father had said he knew someone in Misty Valley, and from his tone he assumed that once she got there, she would have no trouble finding it. Well, if Silver Mountain Village was all there was in Misty Valley, then that must be the place. I'm not sure, but that's probably it, Lena asked. My father knows someone there, and I'm going to stay for summer vacation. Her voice grew smaller and smaller. The officer and the woman intoned together. But maybe I should head back home, Lena went on. My father's friend might not be there anymore. Even if you want to go back, there's no train until evening, the police officer pointed out. It's still before noon. How about you go to Silver Mountain Village and just see? We don't know for sure that your father's acquaintance is gone. Lena realized the officer was right. Her father was always busy and never troubled himself about where Lena spent vacation. But for some reason this year he had urged her to go to Misty Valley instead of her grandma's in Nagano, where she normally spent summers. He'd said, visiting someplace different now and then is a good thing. And now that she had come all the way here, it seemed silly to turn back now. She could just go take a look. Okay, she said crisply. I'll go see. Well then, I'll draw you a map. But it's a mountain trail, mind you, and there really aren't any landmarks. The police officer muttered to himself as he examined the ancient directory and drew with effort. At last he handed a sheet of paper to Lena. It's been a long time since I've had to give directions. It's a shame I can't do a better job, he said. The woman peered at the map and exclaimed, That's in the middle of the mountains! True, there is a road long ago, but you could end up going nowhere and coming right back here. I don't think it's such a good idea. Is it a long way into the mountains? Lena asked, a little concerned. That depends, the officer said. See, you take the road by the Shinto shrine on the outskirts of town, you climb up on there. In this heat, it's a job just getting to the shrine. Then I'll take the bus part way, Lena said. The woman gave her a sympathetic smile. I'm afraid there are no buses or taxis here, she said. The folks who live here, far, who live far from the station, use bicycles. I understand, Lena replied, holding the map in one hand. She picked up her umbrella and red suitcase with the other and stepped outside. Surveying the town again, she could see what the woman meant. After thanking the two adults for their help, Lena began to walk, but the police officer called out and told her, Wait! Mr. Jen! He waved to a man on the side on a small tractor with a cart hitched to the back, and the tractor pulled over. You're headed home, right? The officer asked. Sorry to trouble you, but could you take this young'un as far as the shrine? The old farmer was deeply suntanned and wore a straw-brimmed hat. He glanced at Lena and motioned to the cart behind him. Sure, hop on. The officer helped Lena up. It's better than walking, he whispered with a grin. Before Lena could thank him again, the tractor began to move. With a deafening roar, the tractor rumbled down the town's one street, throwing up a great cloud of dust. Behind the houses to her left and right, Lena could see rice putties stretching all the way to the foot of the mountain, interrupted only by the occasional farmhouse. Headed home for lunch, are you, Mr. Jen? Someone called from a bicycle. They passed houses with low eaves and tile roofs, one after the next. Lena had never ridden in a cart pulled by a tractor before, and found she enjoyed it, but she still felt self-conscious when the occasional passerby saw her. She wanted to get out of town quickly. Unfortunately, the tractor was slower than a bicycle. It seemed the dusty buildings would never end. Then she fi- the and then finally the paddy fields were all around, and she felt better. They chugged along between lush green rice stalks, the motor thundering and dirt from the road rising behind them. So you're going to Misty Valley, Mr. Jen shouted over the motor. The shock of being addressed so suddenly, and with the words Misty Valley, almost tipped Lena out of the cart. How did you know? She yelled back, her mouth filled with dust the moment she opened it. But she had to ask. The police officer had only told Mr. Jen to take her to the shrine. I was just remembering how a long time ago someone else asked me to drop him off near the shrine, Mr. Jen yelled. Lena wanted to ask him more about Misty Valley, but the swirling grit from the road and the ear-splitting noise made conversation impossible. They finally stopped in front of a dense forest. When the engine died down, Lena heard cicadas. There you go, miss. Head up that way, and you'll get to Misty Valley. Mr. Jen pointed to a red torii gate that arched over a path. Lena climbed down from the cart and was about to thank Mr. Jen when he spoke again. That umbrella of yours. They both looked at Lena's umbrella. It was white with red polka dots, and the end of the handle was fashioned into a clown's smiling face. Lena loved the umbrella and took good care of it. That umbrella was reminding me of bringing someone here before, Mr. Jen said. That was back when the mine in Misty Valley started running out of silver, so it must have been 30 years ago. I gave a boy about your age a ride in my horse cart. He had the same red and white umbrella, and I remember thinking it was unusual. Jen looked up from the umbrella back to Lena, remembering. Yep, it was a healthy young'un just like you, he said. Seems like his face even matched yours. He looked like me, Lena said. Oh, maybe it was my dad. She made a mental note to ask her father if he had ridden in Mr. Jen's cart. Is that umbrella his? Mr. Jen asked. No, someone he knows gave it to me, Lena replied. Mr. Jen nodded and fired up his motor again. Well, you take care, he shouted. Lena hurriedly bowed to thank him. Smiling, the farmer headed back into the rice paddies, a cloud of dirt rising behind him. Lena stuck her umbrella through the handle of her bag, taking care not to let the umbrella slip onto the ground. She began to climb the gentle slope by the shrine. The cicadas carried on, and the sharp smell of grass filled the air. As she climbed, the vegetation on both sides of Lena grew thicker. The path narrowed, and small stones here and there made it harder to walk. With trees around, one might expect the air to be cool, but there was no breeze. Instead, the branches seemed to close in, making the woods hot and stuffy. Lena's steps slowed as her breathing became labored. Somewhere along the way, the slope had grown steep. What a trail, Lena thought. I didn't think I'd be climbing a mountain. It was so hot, and her luggage was growing so heavy. She wished she hadn't brought her summer homework. Lena frowned at her bag and jumped in surprise. Her umbrella was gone. She must have dropped it, though she had been paying such close attention a moment ago. Turning to look behind her, she saw something red and white on the path a short way down. She hurried to the umbrella, tossed her bag on the ground, and sat down with a plop. She could feel sweat trickling down the back of her neck. She pulled out her handkerchief to blot it, and then she took out the map. The officer had drawn an arrow by the shrine and written that she should climb up from there. That was it. Did she need to climb farther? Looking up at the path, she noticed a weathered board nailed to the cedar tree right next to her. Squinting, she saw it read, Misty Valley. She peered around the silver, but she could only see more trees, thick and still. Maybe I'll head back. I never asked to come here anyway, she thought. She got to her feet, still unsure what to do. Whoosh! A sudden wind set the whole forest rustling. Lena's umbrella popped open and lifted into the air. She tried to grab it, but it slipped between two Himalayan cedar trees and disappeared. Lena seized her bag and raced into the space between the two trunks. She could just make out a spot of white against the dimness of the forest with its towering trees. The umbrella was safe, but when she drew near it, it blew a few steps away. This happened several times. Lena chased the umbrella all around, forgetting everything else. Above her head, the treetops tossed as if mocking her. Suddenly, Lena noticed something thick and cool flowing all around her. By the time she realized it was mist, even the area a meter ahead of her had begun to blur. She went pale and froze. It was still hours before sundown, and she had not climbed all that high. Frantic, she tried to reassure herself that the mist would clear before long. It would not do to walk around in circles. She fought back tears as she stood, waiting. She had been sweating a moment ago, but now she felt cold. Goosebumps rose on her bare arms. She decided to warm up with some exercise and, rallying her spirits, began to march in place. 1, 2, 1, 2. Then she noticed something else strange. The ground beneath her didn't feel like dirt anymore. She thought she heard it tap sound when she stepped. Squatting down, she looked closely. Her left foot was in the underbrush, but her right foot rested on stone, a flat one. She decided to take one more step into the mist. Her white shoe landed with a tap on another stone. She kept going, taking one careful step at a time and listening for the same sound. Then the mist vanished, like a curtain rising. Lena's jaw dropped as she looked around. Before her stood a village. Was this the village the police officer had mentioned? It certainly wasn't the group of low, dark buildings huddled on a reddish-brown dirt that she had been imagining. Here in the deep green of the forest stood cottages of scarlet and cream, alongside a cobblestone road that shone as if the rain had just fallen. There were only 6 buildings in all. No one was outside, and the area was completely still. Lena felt as if she had arrived in a new country. She collected her bag and walked forward along the cobblestone street, hearing nothing but the sound of her footsteps. Even that seemed to have been swallowed by the forest. Each of the cottages faced the road and had large windows that had been polished to the high shrine. The first building appeared to be a bookstore, its windows revealing rows and rows of books. Across the street stood another shop, this one displaying supplies for boats. The building next to the bookstore sold ceramics, and across from that, a bright red door led to a delightful-looking toy shop. The store beside it had to be a sweet shop. Even its pink front doors looked sugary. Only the house across the street from the sweet shop had a yard in front. It was larger than the other buildings and constructed of red brick, with great windows set in white frames. As she stood at its gate, an arch covered in climbing roses, Lena realized why something seemed off about this place. It had too many chimneys. This is definitely not a normal mountain village, she said to herself as she gazed in wonder at the scene. Then she caught sight of her umbrella, leaning right next to the red brick house's front door. The clown face seemed to be grinning at her. Lena raced beneath the rosebush archway to grab it.